Hi there and welcome to today's show on This Is Ibrox. As always, I'm joined by two fantastic guests. JB, how are you doing today?
Yeah, very well. Hopefully we're going to be talking about another new signing today, but no doubt that'll probably break either 2 minutes after we finish the pod or whilst we're on it. So yeah, no, all good though.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting. I think a few of us were expecting a signing today, but it might still happen. If not, it looks like it'll be tomorrow. And Kyran, I think you're stuck on yet another pod with me. I really don't know who you've annoyed to do that, but how are you doing today, big man?
I'm good, and I'm sure the last time we were on, we got a nice comment to say that what was it? We were a nice blend of enthusiasm and humour. So I hope you fit in well, JB,
mate. That's that. I'll take it all day long. Look, as I said, it seems to me it's so weird talking about it's the 31st of January, but the transfer window shuts tomorrow. I have a sneaking suspicion that it's going to be a pretty busy rest of the transfer window for Rangers, but we'll see in the next few hours anyway. There's loads to cover today as always. Rangers, they didn't officially announce this, but Jack Butland, a bid rejected from Jack Butland from Nottingham Forest. We'll get the guys' thoughts on that. There's potentially another Colombian joining the squad. That all looks imminent. We've also got speculation that two Italian teams were in for Cyriel Dessers. I could not believe this when I was reading this. I'll get you two guys' thoughts on that as well. Cifuentes appears to be off to Corinthians. What's happening with Jefte? We had a bit of an update from the big man Fab about an hour ago on that. Obviously, Diomande arrives at Rangers Training Centre yesterday too. And will Rangers sign another striker? We'll get straight into it. So, JB, I'll start with you. The news that Jack Butland, or Rangers rejected a bid for Jack Butland, allegedly from Nottingham Forest. The club have been quite firm that they won't entertain any bids this window for Jack Butland. But I think the reaction from the fans, if we sold our number one goalkeeper mid-season, given how well he's done, there'd be a bit of a backlash. But I suppose it shows you how well he's doing if there's Premier League interest in him, JB.
Yeah, 100%. I think when he came at the start of the season, I think we were all probably a wee bit worried about which Jack Butland we were going to see. Do you know what I mean? When a guy hasn't played a lot of football in the last few years, albeit Premier League level, there was always that fear: is he going to be rusty? Is he going to be up for it? Does he get what he's coming to? Because obviously we've seen players crumble. He's coming to a club that's got a history of fantastic goalkeepers. So at the start of the season, it was almost like, let's see what we get. But I think quite quickly we've just taken to him, haven't we? And he just looks, and I think this has been said on previous pods, he just looks like a Rangers goalkeeper. You know, like he conducts himself really well. What surprised me is how good his distribution is with both feet. And that he did say in one of his early interviews, I'm going to be able to show more of my game than what I've been able to show in the Premier League. And that's probably because he's played, no disrespect, with teams like Stoke and Crystal Palace who are just punting it long. Whereas he's been able to show really good composure with both feet. I don't think we've had a goalkeeper that can kick a ball since, I know Fotheringham wasn't bad, but probably Wateros or something. So yeah, and then obviously his performances then speak for themselves. I don't think there's a game gone by where you've gone great save or even just coming for corners and set pieces. So he's just been invaluable to us, hasn't he? And I think it wasn't until we started to see them links, was it last night going into this morning, it made you think he's probably our most important player. Much as we probably maybe might look, okay, well, when Golson's out the team, we've done this, that, the other. We don't know what we're like without Tavernier in the team. And then everybody else, it's kind of they've had spells off, so we know what it's like without them. But I'd be petrified at the thought of not having Jack Butland in goal. So I think if he is going to, if he does move on, it's the player trading model. We can't complain that we haven't got players that are sellable, and we want to refresh in the squad. So. But if he is to go, it's going to have to be real decent money, and hopefully not till the summer. And if he has got any international appetite, then with all due respect, moving to Nottingham Forest, I don't think would be great for him because they ship goals for fun. For us, he's got a chance to make that spectacular save, and hopefully a couple more games, good few games in Europe to go as well. So. Yeah, wait and see. But he's, as I say, he's embraced the club, and yeah, hopefully he's going nowhere.
Yeah, that's it exactly. I suppose it's always a good sign when there are Premier League clubs sniffing about some of your best players. We'd be complaining if nobody was interested in our players. But I think you hit the nail on the head there exactly, JB, in terms of there may be a point where we come to sell them, because that's something that Rangers haven't done in the past few years, is sell assets when they've been at their, what's that phrase, peak value. But yeah, maybe it's something we'll have to accept. And listen, I'm not going to be harking on about Jack Butland all night, Kyran, so I'll come to you next on this point here, and it's a striker. Well, there's striker news, but I wasn't expecting this striker news for Rangers. It came from quite a reputable Italian journalist. You know, I think we've had guys from his agency on our show in the past before, talking about the Fabio Silva move of all things. So that's how well that agency knows or is on the ball about transfer news. But there's 2 clubs in Serie A that are no official bids, but sniffing about or registered an interest in Cyriel Dessers, in one club we know very well this transfer window, in Verona, and the other club in Torino. We put it out on our X Twitter yesterday that this news had been released, and it was kind of split down the middle in terms of people going, "Yep, we'll let him go," and people saying, "No, we need to keep him." Where do you sit in all this?
Oh God, I wish you hadn't asked me this. It's a funny one, right? And I was quite shocked to see the reports late last night, because I'm sure the journalist is from Sky Sports Italia, if I remember correct. So that's quite a strong source. I just wonder where that comes from. The fact that it's 2 teams, is that coming from Rangers? Is that coming from his agent, that he's been touted and told that, look, you can go back to Serie A if there's interest, or the agent goes there, or they're trying to drum up interest, knowing that he's hit a bit of form? It's a funny one with Dessers. I've not been a fan all along. It was only a few weeks ago, well, a couple of months ago, in Bill's last game for Rangers, he was getting booed off the field by some fans, my cousin included, I think he's watching. And we're now singing his name, so it's a crazy turnaround, the way things have went for him. It is a strange one. If a bid was to come in and we break even or we make money on him, would that be hard to knock back? I mean, he's £3.5 million, he's £35,000 per week reportedly, right? That's a lot of money. For me, it's a difficult one. If they were to come in with money that we can't knock back, then you can't knock it back. But at this point, we would have to have a backup that we know we're going to sign another striker that's going to score goals. I don't know if we're going to come on to his name. He plays for Hearts, but there's been almost like the Shankland diaries every week, every time we spoke this window.
Yeah.
I can't see that happening at all this late in the window. Had this happened 2 weeks ago, I think Rangers would have entertained it. But I think we're far too far gone in the window at this moment. And as we stand at this moment with Dessers in the team, we still need another striker, I feel. But again, we've just got to see what tomorrow brings. There's no rumours of any strikers. We've seen 3 of our own players be linked as going out yesterday, and Butland, Matondo and Dessers, but nothing coming in the way of a striker. So maybe we get a surprise tomorrow, because the names that we've been sort of signing, Diamonde and Cortes, kind of came right out the blue. So maybe tomorrow, who knows? But yeah, it's getting to a desperate stage now, and I really, really feel that we still need a goal scorer.
Yeah, there's quite a few interesting comments coming in here. CGM55 says, Dessers linked with me with Italy. We can't let that happen. We already need one more as it is. RFC72, if the price is right, I'd sell, as long as they bring 2 strikers in. William N01, would have to be nuts to let Dessers go. It's only him and Seema and Taff who scores, and we've lost Seema. And 56 income and says, surely any fan has to recognise an improvement in a player and give him some credit. JB, I'll ask a very similar question of you. If a bid did come in for Dessers, was that something you think Rangers should entertain?
Yeah, in a nutshell. You asked me the same question on Saturday after the match. I think what we've seen already in the short space of time, I think we now know what we're going to get with him, and that is going to be inconsistency. So if you rock up to the end of the season, I think I might have made this point on Saturday, he'll finish the season on 20 league goals, and that is the 20 league goal striker that we've been crying out for, potentially. However, the chances he's getting created and his lack of movement and what else he brings outside of the penalty box, I think just far outweighs the fact that he's not good enough. As I say, he will score. He will score enough goals. Prove that he can score a big goal. In the Betis away game, it was a fantastic goal. However, do I see him dominating a game, and do I see us getting is there a guy in there that when the chips are down and we're not playing well, he's going to drag us over the line? I just don't know. You could argue all that, he done that on Saturday, just gone. But I think if we needed to get another couple on Saturday, I think we probably would have gone for it. I don't think we ever felt under any great threat up until the last minutes. But yeah, for me, I think it was RFC 72. I think Mike has said there in the comments. Definitely, if he goes out, I'll be looking to bring 2 in. I think a like for like, I don't think would be ideal. We definitely need 2. In regards to Shankland, my kind of view was if you bring him in, he'll score as many, if not more than Dessers. So if that is an option, my only concern with Shankland is I don't think he'll take us to the next level in terms of European football. However, all eyes are on that league. My concern this season is whether you want Shankland or not, it's going to be a shootout between probably Kyogo and Rangers number 9. Now, I know it picked between Shankland and Dessers in terms of who's going to be the Rangers number 9. So, and what we've got to remember is the team he's playing with, the Hearts as well. They're not a great side. Do you know what I mean? They've no disrespect to them, obviously doing a good run, and I think they will cement themselves as the best team. But he's feeding on scraps. And if you look at some of the quality of his goals, I think there is an ignorance. I think if he had a different surname, I think if his name was or something, then we'd all be on board. There was people wanting us to sign Duke on the back of 6 good months. Do you know what I mean? And he's gonna end up in some Farmers League probably at the end of the season. So there you go. There's the comment.
Right on time, man. For anyone that's just listening in audio only, with a comment that said, "Question for you guys: would you take Duke for the sheep?" I can't believe the timing of that.
Yeah, absolutely not. Just to clarify, but the Shankland one's a really funny one. I can't remember a Rangers player that we've been linked with that has caused so much debate. Whether that's because there hasn't been that profile of player in the Scottish League for a while. I was trying to think of a good player that's maybe had a bit of a purple patch, then moved to the old firm. I can't really one since probably Chris Boyd, Scott McDonald, maybe for the other side. And even them didn't come off great goal scoring seasons the previous before in some cases. So yeah, I'm all aboard the Shankland train. Not for European football, but just for domestically. That could be the dream combo of them two. Dessers comes in for the European games and Shankland's fresh for the league in the coming months. But it's going to be It's definitely going to be an interesting 24 hours. I don't think it's going to go to bed, and I think the whole Shankland needing to sign a new contract by tomorrow, if media reports are correct, or by close of play tonight, I think that's just set the cat amongst the pigeons in terms of where will that land. But on the other hand, I think he could probably get a championship move at the same breath as well. So interesting.
I ask you guys as well. See, you mentioned there, JB, about the contract. Do you guys not find it strange that this was fed to the media, that he's been offered a second contract, meaning that he's not back the first one? And how often do you find a chairman put it out in the public to the media that there's a deadline on the contract, which is 24 hours before the window shuts? If that's not inviting suitors on, then I don't know what is. I just don't think it'll be us. I think, like JB said, there's a good chance of a championship club coming for him. And I think if we don't get him this window, then come the summer, you're looking, would I be right in saying he'll be a 29-year-old by then? And
yeah,
you wouldn't be looking to pay a hefty fee. I just don't know. I don't see it happening whatsoever.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think that whole thing with the Shankland contract situation is so bizarre. Like, I can't ever remember a situation like that arising in football, never mind just Scottish football history, where it looks like they're actively trying to punt or force their best player out the door, which is just odd. That's why I still think there might be just a wee something in it, because at least the Hearts chairman or or the manager can go, look, we offered him a contract. He said no, that's why he's away, and it's a lot more palatable for the Hearts fans that way. If
I
he
think
does
there's a
go.
lot to that as well, as in saving face, being the chairman, that you're playing to the gallery a wee bit there.
Yeah. I totally agree. But listen, maybe I'll go to you, Kieran, on this one. We have been linked with quite a few strikers this window. Somebody had a wee comment here as well. Jason Smith said, interesting that Rangers were supposedly in for that lad Kuipers at Genk. Does that mean that they are in the market for a striker but not Shankland? I mean, I was looking at the names. Alexander Lynn, Emmanuel Dennis, who's obviously he's away to Watford, Hugo Kuipers, which it looks like he's away to the MLS for about $12 million, which is insane that league's spending that money now. And yeah, do you think we will sign a striker by the end of tomorrow?
Something tells me we will. I think we might be looking at another loan signing now. What we've got to be careful of here is, I've seen something about it on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, that with the European squad, we can only register another 3 players. So we're kind of teetering at that point now where we'll have brought in, by then, if Cortes announced 4, possibly 5. We don't know how tomorrow's going to go. So in terms of that, maybe, I'm not sure. To go back to the original comment, I don't think it will be Shankland. I've said that already. I don't think we're aiming for Shankland. And the reason I say that is because Diamande, Cortes, even the boy Jefte will go on to, seems to have come out of nowhere. Like I say, Tommy's mentioned it a few times in the pod that we have worked closely with Brighton regarding their recruitment. You've now got Niels Koppen that's came in, and I think going by the links with the Dutch clubs, with the players, especially Diamande, I think Ajax and Feyenoord were heavily linked with him before we signed him, screams to me that we're not really looking in the SPL, with all due respect, SPFL, whatever it's called. So to me, this window so far seems like a very Brighton window, to put it that way. We've cast the net far and wide. You look at South American, Ghanan, am I right in saying that? Diamande's Ghanan?
Ivory Coast.
Ivorian. So, and he came to the Ghanan School Excellence there, so that's what's confusing me. And then we're linked with a Brazilian in Cyprus. So to me, you look at Brighton and their model and guys like Caicedo, Alexis McAllister, Matoma, like from every corner of the world picking up. I wouldn't really say bargains, but in terms of McAllister and Matoma, for what they signed them for and what they've got and will get is where we want to be and what the type of business we want to do. So in terms of a striker coming out the blue, I think it's very possible, but you would be looking at a loan possibly.
Yeah, and JB, I'll ask a very similar question to yourself. Do you think that this time, or maybe not this time tomorrow, but late midnight tomorrow, that Rangers will have announced there'll be a scarf amongst a striker that we've not even heard the name of tomorrow?
Yeah, I think there's a good chance. And to Kieran's point, I think it could be just an absolute wild profile. Do you know what I mean? It could be somebody from one of the African leagues or something. You know, like a Egyptian striker a few years ago, weren't we? But it could be something wild. If you look at a lot of the Scandinavian clubs, they tend to take a punt on Southern African players, North African players, and then they just come out of nowhere. And there's a massive opportunity for them to obviously players to showcase themselves and then go on to that next level. So there might just be something left field up the sleeve. I think we know what we need. I think we need a penalty box striker. I think that's one thing that's missing. We've got players who can do nice stuff in other parts of the pitch. We've got players that can move wide. We've got guys like Silva that can drop and play into the 10 if we need them to, if we need to retain the ball and stuff, which he done a fantastic job up with Easter Road the other week. However, we just need that Jermaine Defoe, Chris Boyd, Lawrence Shankland. We just need, and I'm not comparing now, by the way, we just need that someone who isn't going to do a lot in the game, but will slide the ball over the line. I don't think we've got I was saying to my dad the other week, I don't think we've got a player at the club that would slide to get the ball over the line like a penalty box striker does. And if you think of the amount of balls that we put between that last defender and the goalkeeper, and you go, oh, if there was someone there, we've done it for years. Alfredo Morelos would be 20 yards from goal and Tabs put one in right across the 6-yard box. We haven't had a player for years that's hungry to score goals and doesn't do much else but score goals. So yeah, that's what I want to see over the next 24 hours. But we'll wait and see.
Yeah, that's it. I'm sure one of you two will tell me, but was it Newport Man United were playing at the weekend in the FA Cup? Was that right? Or whoever they were playing, right? And see their second goal that they scored where somebody slid in, the ball into the back post and somebody slid in. I was like, we never see goals like that at Ibrox anymore. We never see the old Ali McCoist, as it was, just sliding in, poaching in at the back post.
Is this like slightly off topic, right? Is this because the number 9 position has almost went out of fashion? I mean, you look the sort of grown up late 90s into the early 2000s, like number 9s, like not Rangers, we had Rod Wallace, we had Billy Dodds, like out and out 9s, penalty box strikers. You go back to the Man U team that won the Champions League, guys like Andy Cole, Sheringham, Solskjaer, Dwight York, 4 number 9s in the one team. Like, how many number 9s can you name in football nowadays? It's kind of an out of fashion almost.
Yeah,
I can name one, Lawrence Shankland.
Scored an absolute peach for outside the box at the weekend, so I'm not sure we can call him a penalty box striker.
Yeah, that's very true. Look, there's some names here that I'm going to say. Ross of this parish just absolutely at the wind up saying Cholak had those goals in his locker. And 2 very, very contrasting names here is what I will say. Gary Shaw's chucking out Danny Ings, who I know has been rumoured to move. Personally, 6-month loan. I don't think I'd be objecting to that if he came up here, knows where the goal is. And then the opposite end of the spectrum, we've got Robert Robertson that says, get big Jordan White in, which, given that sitter that he missed at the weekend for that alone, I know he's a big Rangers man, but no thanks.
That's definitely Jordan White's burner account there.
Yeah. Well, it'd be nice to have you on the show sometime, Jordan, if you're ever interested. But there we go. Look, we'll move on to the next bit of news. It was shortly before coming on here, JB, it was Big Fab, the man himself, tweeted, give me 2 wee ticks, and I have this tweet all prepared from earlier on. It says, Jefte to Rangers deal has collapsed and Applewell are not willing to break loan for the second half of the season, which may be understandable given that they're under a transfer embargo at the minute. But he goes on to say, but I'm told Rangers have a verbal pact in place to reactivate the option to sign Jefte in the summer transfer window. Deal could really happen in June. I cannot believe that this transfer window hasn't even shut yet. I'm already potentially talking about our next move. What do you make of that a potential deal could be done so early? And is Jefte the type of player that we should be looking at?
Yeah, I think is again, we're going off the old YouTube clips. I'm sure if you put the best clips of us 3 and 5 aside, you'll probably be able to play. But yeah, YouTube's always a bit of a kidder. But yeah, fits the profile in terms of the left field. Looks like, obviously, I think it's just shy of 6 foot. Good balance from the left-hand side. I don't think he signed a professional contract with Fluminense. I think that's what's caused a little bit of confusion as well. So it wouldn't surprise me if we're going to give them a little dropsy, and then we were hoping Applewell were going to play ball, and then there was going to be a bit of a domino effect. I don't know whether we could have maybe just sent them Scott Wright or something. This guy can play left back. But yeah, I think that's one for the summer. But I think it's just a real interesting time. I don't think we're going. Don't get me wrong. This can go one or two ways. Let's have it right. If we go the end of the season and we nosedive, now it's the end of the season, all of a sudden you're going, why are you signing these players? It's too much of a risk. You should have done this. You should have done the other. However, things feel right. I think we've got a proper manager now. So I think even, because I remember, and I've said this a few times on the pods, I remember walking out to that stadium in Aris and going, I'm done with every single one of these players. There's not one of them. If I don't see any of them again in a Rangers shirt, I will not be disappointed. Then you find a few months now, and all of a sudden you go, right, there's the bones of something there now. Do you know what I mean? And the fact that we've then topped that up with a really good manager, and the fact that we are now doing what looks like forward-thinking activity, I'm super pleased. I think the fact that we brought Silver in before the window even opened was kind of a little bit of a statement of, right, we mean business and we're going to be doing things a wee bit different to how we've done things in previous years. I think the markets that we're exploring, they've worked for other people, so there's no reason why they can't work for us. So, yeah, no, one that we'll just have to keep an eye on and see what he does. Maybe didn't keep an eye on him second half of the season, but I think that one's going to be tied up for the summer.
Yeah, which is good. It's definitely something we'll come on to talk about later on, the types of players that we're targeting and how it just seems to be a very, very different transfer window, given that Niels Coppin's in. But a few comments in here that I just want to get up before I move on to you, Kyran. Jason Smith and Paul McGarrigle both saying similar things. If Jefte wants to move and Fluminense are happy to let him start talks with us, wonder if he'll try and force the move now. Paul McGarrigle says something about if Jefte wants this move, what if he refuses to play for Apoel? And the Bluebells are Blue says, what's a verbal agreement worth? I'll ask you a slightly different slant on the question. Again, it's from a reliable source that looks like there is this verbal agreement in the summer, but that means that Ridvan will still be here and Borna Barisic will still be here. Looking likely that Barisic will let his contract run down, be moved out in the summer. Ridvan might be our starting choice, first choice left back, and he's got the Euros in the summer as well that he potentially be getting to Turkey. And I know there's been chat, if he does well at that, he could increase his value even more. Are you going to be happy that the rest of the season that Ridvan looks like he'll be our left back?
Yeah, I think I said it on the pod last week that I was shooting myself in the foot a wee bit selling him just now, given how good his form's been and that he's turned a corner regarding his fitness and put a run of games together and showed what he could do. The only thing that worries me about it, Ridvan might remain after the window shuts tomorrow, but if we remember correctly, the Turkish window doesn't actually shut until the 9th of February, so every player's got a price. They could come in with money that we can't knock back, so where do we go then, if you know what I mean? I don't know, but we know we'll definitely need one left back come the summer. Barisic, by the looks of it, is not signing. I'm 99% sure of that he'll not sign a new contract. From what you hear, rumour-wise, is that he wants to return home. It would have been good to get Jefte in and possibly get Barisic out 6 months earlier and try and get a few 100,000 for him, but just doesn't look like that's developed. And going back to the comments as well, people saying could they force through a move? Like, I think there's a couple of factors in that. One being that it was AWOL, I think it was reported, but he's now back with the team. So meaning that he's already been away, he's came back. There's obviously something happened in the middle there that's made him return. So he's going to be playing for Apoel. And the second part of it is, imagine someone made a bid to Brighton for Sima. And they were just like, Rangers, any chance you can just let him go? Like, he's signed somewhere else. Like, it's not going to happen. It looks by and large, in front from what I read in the comments, when the original Fabrizio Romano post came about from the Apoel fans, was if we had the money, we'd have bought him by now because he's the best player on the team. So you don't just let the best player go when you've got him on loan and you've not paid anything for him. By and large, they'll lose him at the end of the season for nothing, and we'll probably pick him up for a nominal fee. We've just got to wait and see in the summer now. Unfortunately, this is one that's slipped through the net, and I think it backs up the saying that don't believe anything until they've got the scarf above their head outside the training ground at Ibrox.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's exactly it. It's a very interesting bit of business by Rangers. It's good to see that that they've identified this guy, gone out, as you said, Kyran potentially spoken to him, and seemed to have him lined up for next season. I suppose we'll find out in the next 6 months how true that's all been. But my next point to go on to, if my bit of paper comes back, is on Cortes. He looks like a guy that we've been discussing a lot. Pretty much looks like he'll probably be signing for Rangers. It's not been confirmed yet. It's all but done, I think. There's wide speculation out there that he's had his medical. A few comments in there saying that they actually think that Cortes will be our last signing of the window. I don't think that. But JB is a guy that started off his career with Millonarios in Colombia, where he very, very quickly impressed after about 20-25 games. And he got himself a move to Lyon in France for 4.5 million. It's not seemed to have quite worked out there at the minute. The reason that I'm reading and into that is that they tend to play with high attacking fullbacks, if that sounds familiar to you. So his style of play doesn't really suit him. I can't remember. Tim Vickery was on TalkSport as well earlier on today talking about him, saying that he was one of the best players, the third best player in the Under-20 World Cup. He's not quite sure why Law are letting him go on loan. But firstly, what do you make of this? When this guy, or if this guy is announced, what are you going to make of the signing of Oscar Cortes?
Yeah, I think it just links back to that I said earlier about just a really left field profile. It's sounds like Nils Coppen's got his finger on the pulse in terms of looking for players that we can bring in, develop, and get what we can out of them, and then move them on. Do you know what I mean? We've seen clubs in Europe do that so many times. Yeah. We've just been left behind because of our scouting network. It's just we've had good scouts probably working at the club, but unless you've got somebody really centrally coordinating that, and this guy seems as if he knows what he's doing. Do you know what I mean? So I think the player himself, it's got potential to be another Cifuentes. Let's cool the jet. The kid hasn't played a lot of football since he come over to Europe. So he played a handful of games in the last six months or so. Did he join in the summer? Was it? But again, loads of potential. He's actually going to be coming in at a really good time. We've got 4 more than winnable games at Ibrox over the next few weeks. I think it's a great time to be a new player coming into the club. If you're coming into the club and you're going to Aberdeen's away, Hibs away, Hearts away, Parkhead, whatever, then all of a sudden you go, oof, God, baptism of fire stuff. However, he's coming into a really good run at the moment, so hopefully we can rack up. We've got to be racking up 4 wins over the next 4 games, no messing about. And the players are going to get a chance. Him and Diamandi, who we'll get to in a second, they've got a chance to show what they're all about. To your point earlier, I probably read similar articles in terms of they wanted to play wing. They tried to play him as a bit of a wing back role, and that just didn't suit. Seems a bit of a free spirit. Can play on the left, the right, or off the striker as well. Not scared to have a pop at goal. So again, it falls back into that category of it could be very good or very bad. Probably won't really land in the middle with them. So let's just hope that again, with a good manager, we can move on. We're not used to having a good manager. I said the other day, I said to a few people, we haven't had a proper manager since Walter Smith, and people might go, oh, so and so's done this, so and so's done that. We hobbled through the leagues back up, playing absolute dreadful football, and then got to the Championship. Warburton come in and done a great job in the Championship. But let's not forget who he was playing against. Do you know what I mean? Got into the top flight and then shat the bed when he's seen going for 55 in flags when he steps out of the ground. That's not a Rangers manager. And then you then move on from there, and then Pedro come in, absolute nut job. Do you know, and there was nothing there. He was just wild. He might have got away with it with his enthusiasm and stuff if he had a decent number 2. And then you him to who's next then in the firing line. You've got your fucking Merties and all of them, all that carry on. And then Gerrard wasn't a manager. Do you know what I mean? He wasn't. He was great for the profile of the club. He'd score and got us in Europe, got us established. Will forever be in his depth for what he delivered the 55 season. But he wasn't a manager. And then Gio come in. He'd only done 2 years worth of management in his career. Ballsed up China, had a good season in Feyenoord where he won the league. And then don't even spend too much time talking. Michael Beale flying all over Ryanair to meet players. So I think we've got a proper manager now. So I think it's a great time. It's an exciting time, and we just got to trust them.
Yeah, JB, I was not expecting to be taking on that journey there, but fair play. I think you've rallied some of the listeners and the viewers there. I totally agree. I was so I think we can take that from JB that he thinks Cortes will be a decent signing when he's announced by the club. And Kyran, I'll ask a very similar question to yourself. It's about the nature of the deal. It seems like we've done that with Diomande this season as well. It's a loan. I think he's an obligation to buy at the end of it, though, for roughly, I think it's 4.5 million euros is the reported fee for that one. I think it's similar money, not sure entirely, but again, the rumour mill on social media is that it is a similar fee, but this would perhaps be an option rather than an obligation. But yeah, what do you make of a deal like that itself? And do you think that Cortes is going to come in and effectively just replace Sima?
Yeah, I think it's pretty imminent that we're just waiting on that announcement and the socials to go up on Rangers' official page regarding the Cortes deal. Now, for me, I do like these deals. I'm interested to see how it's structured. I like it when there's an option to buy. The risk is very much reduced there. Like we said already, we don't really know what we're going to get with him. He's only played 40 minutes for loans, considering they signed him for around about 4.3 million euros. So it'll be really interesting to see, one, if we've got an option to buy, which it sounds like, two, if there's an agreed price for the option to buy. That's so much more preferable for me, because you look at things like how murky the Tillman deal got, where we are right now with Sima. I think it's better as a club if we can get these things agreed up front, because we have been very fortunate with loan deals where players have come along and hit the ground running, with the likes of guys like Ryan Kent, Malik Tillman, Abdallah Sima. Sorry, I had to mention him on the pod. I'm sure we'll get there. It's good if you've got these agreements in place that if he is doing very well, say for example it was 2 million, you know you're getting a bargain for 2 million because he fits the profile, he fits the league, he's done well. That's where we want to be looking. And again, I think this is very much out of left field, considering he has only played 40 minutes for loans. And am I right in saying he's only been there 6 months?
6 months, yeah.
Yeah, so he's not going to come cheap. If he's only been there 6 months, we take him on loan. That's what I'm saying. He wouldn't come cheap if he'd done well here, considering they've only had him for 6 months. They could take him back and say, nah, listen, he's done well there. This is a player we signed. We're going to give him a chance. So I'm excited about this one, but at the same time, I'm a bit burned from, like JB said, Cifuentes. I must have watched every YouTube video going on Cifuentes and thought he was the next coming of Patrick Vieira, but he wasn't. It just didn't work out for him here, unfortunately, and you just can't go by that now. But it is exciting that you're taking a punt on the unknown for the fans. I'm not saying that about the scouting team at Rangers. So fingers crossed it really works out. It's another exciting one. And a Colombian. We love a Colombian. Alfredo, missed dearly.
That was my next question to the pair of you. Are you both ready to get your heart broken by another Colombian again? Because I don't know if I quite am, to be honest with you. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it all fits in and how he comes into the squad. And I've got a sneaky suspicion that deal might be something like Rangers might have first refusal to buy him in the summer type thing, which might make a bit more sense. But it looks like we'll soon find out about that one. JB, a player that is mentioned, I don't know, every now and again here. It's a comment from William that I'm going to bring up, and he says, announce Barron a pre-contract tomorrow for the meltdown of the sheepies. That would put the icing on the cake quite nicely. Do you think that's a guy that we should be looking at?
Yeah, no, I do. I think it's a really interesting option. I think when you see some of the Aberdeen fans crying on Twitter and social media and stuff in regards to their recent performances, they're all pointing towards why is this guy not getting more game time. I know Barry Walker's been doing some analysis on him as well, and as a massive fan. If you look at the games where he's played, or the games where he's played a full 90 minutes, they tended to do okay. And I think to tick the Scottish quota box, I think if some of the guys who are coming out of contract at the end of the season aren't going to be there, it might just be a case of Aberdeen don't want to deal with us. That wouldn't surprise me. Do you know what I mean? So it could just be a case of it might be a Greg Stewart moment. So I don't know if any of the Greg Stewart interview in the last few weeks saying McInnes pulled him in and said, right, you're going to Rangers at the end of the season if you agree terms, but we're going to keep it on the low down.
Yeah.
I think with something like that, I don't think there's no chance the kid's signing a pre-contract. Because the fact that, well, when I say he's not signing it, it's not getting publicised that he's signing a free contract. You know what? It wouldn't concern me if he came in. If we could maybe agree a little cut price deal. It wasn't too long ago we were playing Tom Lawrence in a holding midfield role. Do you know, like we were down to the bare bones. Sterling, who turned out to be a revelation, like, but. We're having to play central midfield. I still think he probably deserves to be in that central midfield, by the way. I wouldn't be putting him to the left or right wing, but it's he'd be one I'd be really pleased to see come through the door.
And Kyran, Conor Barron, is that somebody that would excite you? Basically, it looks like it would be a like for Ryan Jack, and that's not me, by the way. Nobody clap that up and say that I'm saying that Ryan Jack's out at the end of the season, because I'd love nothing more than Ryan Jack to continue. But it's not just the fact that they both played for Aberdeen. They are a very similar style of player, and I think this would be quite an exciting signing, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd be excited by it. I think I would really like it more than anything. Again, homegrown player, young talent. He looks probably the best at the crop in that under-21 Scotland side. JB's bang on the money with the Greg Stewart thing. I was going to bring the point up myself if it came to me, where we did keep it under wraps. But it does also remind me of, remember the Graham Shinney situation where his contract was running out and we all thought he was in the pre-contract and it was hush-hush because it was from the Sheep. I don't think they would have a problem dealing with us, because we look back to the McCrory and Scott Wright deal where that seemed to go pretty smooth, as smooth as almost a swap deal can go, and they done all right out McCrory from that. So if we were to offer it, I think they would want money, because Aberdeen are very much a different side now, where their scouting is pretty structured when you look at the type of players that they bring in and the type of money that they look for. So I don't think we'll see Conor Barron coming in at this point. There's no real rumours of it being close anyway, but if it has been kept under wraps, I'd be delighted with the signing itself. Young Scottish talent that's only going to improve in a good side. Yeah,
look, that's the only thing I'll say about what you said there is virtually every signing that we've made so far this season, there's been nothing on it, and then boom, we've signed them. Yeah. So you never know. I'm hoping that's why it's quiet on the Shankland front there, but I'm going to keep at it, Kyran, if you're on a pod with me. So the Bluebells are blue, says here. Barron is supposedly coming in the summer, and John Moffat here says Sheep wouldn't sell to us. But that's the brilliant thing about it, John. They have no choice if we signed them on a pre-contract, and we wouldn't have to buy him off them. So that makes it even better. Look, GB, I'll come on to you here. Something we sort of touched about on before, and it's the transfer strategy this season from Niels Koppen since he's come in. Philippe Clement come in as well. It is a certain player, a certain profile that we're looking at. Fabio Silva, Portuguese, did well in under-23 Euro Championship. They are 21 years old. Mohamed Diomande, 22 years old. You know, vice captain in Nordsjælland, tearing it up in that league. Jefte, okay, we're not over the line, and I suppose Oscar Cortes isn't over the line as well, but both of them 20, you know, coming from South America. Is this the sort of model that we can expect going forward, these young sellable assets, you know, with a high potential?
I think so, yeah. Potential. Well, as we touched on earlier, this is it's territory we're not used to. You know, in terms of we're used to probably being linked with League One players. I was about to say League One Wes then, but on bottom end of the Premier League, players that you kind of hoping that could revitalise their career. We tried that in the summer with a handful of them, and that hasn't been too great, has it? So, yeah, the profile of the players that we're all signing all seem to be able to play 2 or 3 different positions as well. As I say, I would like somebody that can do nothing but play through the middle up front. But the type of guys that we're saying, there's lots of energy being signed, which has been pleasing to see. I think that's something we've missed in recent years. Even if you look at go back to the summer there, other than Sterling, they've all turned out to be crabs, haven't they? In terms, none of them are moving particularly quick. And that's one of the things when you do take that step up into Europe, is teams move the ball quick, they're strong. And the players that we are signing, there's going to be loads of energy. And with all due respect to the rest of the teams in Scotland, if we can work as hard as these guys, and then that extra bit of quality will always shine through. I think the problem we've had in recent years is we've had players that haven't been as fit as their opposition, and haven't been as drilled and haven't been as coordinated, whereas with what we're seeing now, and I know we'll probably come on to Diomande in a second, he's just another profile of a player that can play 2 or 3 positions. He's going to contribute with goals. He can slip into defensive roles if we need him to. And yeah, it's exciting. I definitely don't think be trolling through League One and the lower ends of the Championship anymore.
Yeah, that's it exactly. And Kyran, have you been impressed by this sort of change in tact in terms of how Rangers look to do their business, certainly in this window? I mean, it's, if you look at Clement from previous clubs that he's been at, in terms of Genk and Club Brugge and Monaco. I mean, some of the names escape me. I'm sure you two will be able to fill me in on them. But is it like Sander Berg and Tushmeni and stuff like that he'd worked with, young players that he's built up? I mean, this guy has got a very credible pedigree in terms of doing this, and I'm actually quite excited about the names that we've been linked with and the people we're bringing in. What's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, you look at as well, to add to that, you look at the guys that Clement worked with that lost their way a wee bit and done well, like Lissandro Trossard, Noah Lang as well. These guys that have really hit the heights, especially Lang at PSV, has been unbelievable. Seeing that Trossard too. I really like the direction they're going. I think I had a bit of a rant a couple of weeks ago when I was on, saying that I was worried about the sellable assets that we had in the squad, and the guys that were coming out of contract come the summer, that we were going to look at another rebuild. But I'm glad we've went out and signed players, or looked to sign players with these loan to buy options, because let's be honest, you can't rebuild a team in one window. It's got to happen over 2, 3, 4 windows, because for all the hits you get in your transfer windows and the guys that you sign, there is a lot of misses in there too. So I'm really happy with the profile of it. I'm happy that it's younger guys, because we know the past 18 months, the struggle that we've had is the injury problems. So you look at the guys like McCausland that's come through, he's not had an injury yet. Touch wood, it keeps going that way. Young players coming through, progressing, and staying fit and being a reliable option week to week. Now, you rhymed off the ages there. What was it? 22, 20. I think Cortes is 20 as well. Like, these are young guys with the best years ahead of them. And as well, throw Sterling in that bracket, young player. Ridvan, young player. We've got a good sort of quota of young players. You could even throw Raskin in there too. We need to start progressing these players. And what I like is that Clement seems to be a manager, and like JB said, a proper manager that gets the best and progresses players, gets them punching above their weight a wee bit, and adds value to them. Now, if we are to have what they call one of the 4 pillars, am I right in saying that? One of the 4 pillars in the financials in our AGM. I know you love it, mate. Like Rick Flair sitting there. Is the player trading model. Now, the player trading model doesn't work unless you're a successful side. So I know we're bringing in young players, but in Diamonde's case, we need to expect him to start pretty well, because he's going to have to figure in this title race, because we're in the thick of it. We're right in it. And when you look across the city, they have a quiet day tomorrow. Things are really going to start to unravel there, especially after their manager's comments for the past 6 weeks about needing quality in that team. I dare say, though, I still think we need a goal scorer, but we need to keep the foot on the pedal.
Yeah, no, that's it exactly. It's it'll be interesting scenes tomorrow in terms of who moves for what. But JB, we've mentioned it quite a lot at the weekend, and I really want to talk about one of our new signings. We'll finish the podcast on some transfer chat. Don't worry, everybody that's out there watching, and let me know in the comments. I think I put it in there that if you think or predict any late movers tomorrow, if we will bring in bodies tomorrow, let us know in the comments, and we'll try and bring that up later on there as well. But Mohamed Diomande, are you expecting him in the squad at the weekend, given that I have a sneaky suspicion that he might be in there? Because I just found this Sterling playing on the left just very strange at the weekend, and I just felt he's just going to, that's just to occupy that space, and Diomande's just going to go straight in at the weekend. What's your thoughts?
And I hope so. It's, again, I don't want to sound like too much of a killjoy, but it might just be another one that we just might need to be patient with. It might just be one for the squad and then one to work in. I don't think, has he kicked the ball since November?
In a few months.
Another one that's not.
Sorry, but in JB, according to Chris Jack at the Rangers Review earlier, he was saying that we've actually sent a fitness coach out to Copenhagen to work one-on-one with him. So there is obviously an issue there with match fitness.
Right.
It's a totally Rangers thing. Sorry, on you go, mate.
He'll come over injured then. So there was one point to see him. But yeah, no, I think he'll he might be one that we might just need to, as I say, he might be ready to start games. It might take him a few weeks to get used to the pace and the culture and everything else that goes with it, even though we have splashed the cash on. But I think he's one that he looks exciting. I don't recall if we have, has Clement done a full-on interview with him? I can't picture snippets. So that might be once he's done the full press stuff. But it'll be interesting to see where Clement sees him. I think he's not shy in coming forward. If he wants to tell you something, he'll tell you it. So it'll be interesting to see where the manager foresees him playing. The fact he can play a number of positions is great. However, I would like to see us starting to build up some relationships on the pitch. Whether that's Ridvan and Diamandi down the left, whether it be Tav and I was going to say Candeas then down the right, but it wouldn't be a pod without Candeas getting a mention. But we haven't done to be building relationships across the team. We've played like individuals for a number of years. And I think that's very much been because of the signing policy. We've just signed players in the hope that they'll do well. Like we've got about 6 or 7 number 10s in that squad, as opposed to a player who goes, you know what, he is a holding midfielder. He's a centre forward. He can do nothing but this. He can do nothing but that. So, yeah, I think he's going to get, again, I used the word earlier, but I think he's going to bring lots of energy. 9 goal contributions last season, 5 goals, 4 assists. I like, from what we've seen of him, he likes to hit the box. I can already picture Tav kind of pinging one in for a late Diamandi running behind. We haven't had midfielders for years that run past the striker. You can probably count on one hand how many goals we've actually done. Scott Arfield was probably the last guy that we've had who could do that on a semi-consistent basis. So the fact that the kid can do that, and it looks like all day as well, which is good. So yeah, looking forward to seeing him. And it looks like collected a few retro Rangers kits in his time as well, which is never a bad thing.
Well, that's the thing that I was going to come on to here. Bluebells Are Blue says, see the pictures doing the rounds of Diomande wearing a Rangers strip as a kid. Lovely stuff. I cannot wait to hear the story behind that, because I was thinking, the first one I was going, maybe it's just an Ivory Coast and he's got one strip. And then they produced a photo of a totally different strip. I was like, you're not going to tell me this lad's been sitting in Ivory Coast with Boyd number 9 in the back of his kits over there. But you never know. Look, so we'll just about wrap up the podcast there, but I've got one last question for you both. Kyran, I'll come to you first here. A few people have already, I put the question in the comments, a few people have already given as their ideas on it. I've said, what's your predictions? Any late moves tomorrow? The William here says, we'll sign 2 players after Cortes. That is very, very different. Very, very... I'm not going to say factual there, but he's very certain of that. Don delivers cars, and there was a brilliant comment earlier on when he was talking about Borna Parisic picking up his Porsche, so he'll definitely be staying. But he says need to move a few players first. Yeah, possibly that's going to be interesting, but I'm not sure, because there's 6 out of contract in the summer. Paul McGarrigle says, I predict we sign 1, possibly 2 more players tomorrow. And RFC72 says Cortes and another will be announced tomorrow. Kyran, thoughts on that? Do you agree with those guys?
Going with the last one, I think Cortes, and I am going to go curveball. I'm going to go another winger. I just felt like Sterling on the left was a wee bit of a statement at the weekend. I know it had been tried against Hertha, and we were still there. I think Clement loves wingers. There wasn't any when he came in. We're still a bit stagnant in the wide areas, considering that Seaman's now out. I don't know, could you call it long-term, mid-term, towards the end of the season? So I think in the immediate, to me, and going by Clement's comments saying that he doesn't care where the goals come from, they can come from all over the pitch. He wants wingers, and especially wingers that can contribute with goals. So I'm going to go for curveball. I'm going to go for another winger.
That makes sense. This is the other thing about this transfer window. We've actually went out and signed players in positions, apart from striker, that we need to strengthen in. So that would be my prediction. I think we're going to have a... On you go, Kyran.
I do think there will be a bit of a knee-jerk reaction amongst a lot of the support if we don't sign a goal scorer. I really do feel that.
Yeah, Paul McGarrigle asked the question here. He says, question, guys, what happens if Dessers gets injured without a replacement? Well, we might find out tomorrow.
Are we back up front?
Well, that's the thing. I'm sure I was reading somewhere that Cortes can actually play up front through the middle. I'm sure he's done that for Milan-Aros, but you never want that. If he's coming in as a winger, you don't want to be sticking him up front. And JB, I'll ask you the exact same question. Have you got any predictions for tomorrow? Do you think we'll see any late business? Will we end up bringing in like 3 players in, or what do you think?
Cortes, a striker on loan who's played in the Belgian league, and Ryan Kent.
Oh yeah, it's that we had to go through. That's 2 mentions of Ryan Kent. That's shocking, this pod. But look, there's Ross here says I'm picking a Premier League striker on loan, which might be interesting. We'll see that there. And there was another comment, but I cannot see it. But listen, I think that just about sums it up for us tonight. We'll see. Join. Make sure you're following all the social media channels. This is Ibrox Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever the bloody hell it's called, just to follow all the latest transfer news. The last thing to do is to thank both my guests. So thank you very much, JB, for tonight.
Oh, cheers, and let's hope for a successful day tomorrow.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm sure we're all going to be at work glued to our phones. And Kyran, thanks very much for joining us in like the millionth podcast in a row.
Oh no, my pleasure joining you guys. It doesn't really beat talking about 1 Rangers and 2 transfers. So if you're a big Football Manager fan, you definitely enjoy listening about transfers. So enjoyed it, guys. Thank you.
Right. Thanks everybody for tuning in and listening. Take care. And we will be back from post-match from the game at the weekend. So we'll see you all then.